Hello everybody. It's me, Chef Commander Coffee, and I'm here with some MTGA. Oh yes, I'm recording this, not currently on stream, and I thought I would start off by doing a little draft. So I played in the pre-release, went pretty well. Of my 3 sets, I lost my first one 0-2 to my opponent dropping an Oketra on turn 5 in both games, which was pretty hard to beat. And my other 2 sets I went 2-0. I was basically playing a blue-green deck with lots of 4-power creatures and 2 Kioras, and it went pretty well. So I came third in the store, based on I think the final, like at 4-2. Normally I wouldn't come third, but it was on win percentage. So some of the people I played against had a better win percentage, so I got pushed up to third, which is pretty good. There was like a dozen people playing, so I did quite well. Aside from that, let's see. Yeah, it was more or less how I expected it to be. The removal was not particularly heavy. The mass was quite good. Certain cards seem to perform a lot better, but the code that I have is for a traditional draft. I'm not going to redeem it right now. I'm actually just going to use some of my gems. I'm going to hold on to some of the codes because I know some of my friends who I played within the sealed would like it, or some of the people I know who play MTGA would like a couple of codes. So, and whilst I got gems, I might as well spend them instead. So we'll just pop into a traditional draft, and I'm not going to record any of the games right now. I'll probably end up playing it on the stream, but I thought I might as well draft this just so everybody gets to see, gets a little taste of what a draft's going to be like. So, pack 1, pick 1. I mean, board wipe, but unfortunately, it's in the colours of I want to play lots of creatures, so, not sure how much I like that. I could alternatively take Mayhem Devil, which is a pretty damn good creature, especially if you're in black-red sacrifice. And I think in draft, you're going to be able to pick up a lot more synergy for the different archetypes. And I don't think Solar Blaze actually synergizes with red-white, which is the aggro deck of the archetype of the set. So I think I'm actually going to first pick the Mayhem Devil. Though a board wipe could be just super powerful anyway. It's difficult to say what would be better. I think black's got a lot more going for it than white does in the set as a whole. So I think taking the Mayhem Devil is actually the correct pick. And whichever one we picked, we have been rewarded, because whatever the AI picked, they didn't want to pick a Krenko, which seems silly, so we're going to grab a Krenko, who's incredibly good in the black-red sacrifice deck, because he generates a lot of tokens. Unfortunately, we have a Heartwarming Redemption here, which is actually very good for red-white to re-gas up your hand when you've burnt some of your cards out. But Obnixilis is also pretty damn good for the sacrifice deck. And he can also be a win con later in the game if you just want to hold your opponent down. Grim Initiate's very good too, but we might be able to wheel him. So we're going to take the Obnixilis. Oh, a Tibalt and an Arncrop Invader. Okay, so we've got a payoff for sacrifice and another sacrifice enabler. Now, I'm more likely... we've got 2 payoffs for sacrifice, actually. I think we're more likely to see another Arncrop Invader or a Spark Reaper or like a Dread Malkin or something. So I think we're going to take the Tibalt. I think Tibalt gets some serious work done, to be honest. And we were rewarded because there's another Arncrop Invader, so we're going to pick him up straight away. Okay. Red-black's not looking very exciting here, but we do have a Goblin Assault team, which is not the worst creature. A lot of creatures don't have more than 4 toughness. 5 toughness is kind of the sweet spot in this set. There's not a huge amount of creatures with 5 toughness. So I think the Goblin Assault team normally is going to at least trade with something valuable. Otherwise, it still puts a counter on something. It still can, push 4 damage. It's not too bad, so we're going to go with Goblin Assault team. Hopefully we don't have to play it, but cool. So we either have to choose grabbing a piece of removal, which is this piece of removal falls off a lot later in the game, or another Arncrop Invader, and I think having a second Arncrop Invader is just worth too much for the deck. As far as this pack goes, I don't really want to pick a Goblin Assailant. I don't want to pick a Prismite. So I'm actually just going to pick Dovin's Veto for my collection. Because the set's quite new, and I'm going to be spending mostly gold and gems to build up the set, not buying packs. Likewise with this pack, I'm just going to pick up Narset for...
I know 88 ways to defeat you.
There you go.
Pick one.
I'm going to just pick up Narset for the collection. Here, nothing exciting. I could pick a Guild Globe. Guild Globe might be useful if I find a bomb in another colour. So I think we will take the Guild Globe. It also cycles itself, so it's not the worst thing. And if you pay 2 and sack it, it does actually affect the Mayhem Devil. So whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, deals 1 damage. Grim Initiate is perfect for this deck. It's the best 1-drop for red-black sacrifice. Blind Blast is not a particularly very good card, but it can see some play. It does cycle itself, so it's not the worst thing. Banehound is not very exciting. We'll probably cut that, but there you go. A wall of runes for the sideboard. Okay, what do we have here? We've got Spark Reaper, it's pretty good. Vizier of the Scorpion. Vizier of the Scorpion is perfect. It gives us a Death Toucher. It also gives us a Sacrifice creature. Spark Double is very, very good. I've found, just being able to copy one of your big boys or copy some of your more powerful planeswalkers. But I think Vizier of the Scorpion is the best pick for our deck right now. And we're quite deep into it. We got a lot of playables. Massacre Girl, eh? Huh. Massacre Girl might hurt us more than it hurts our opponent, but then again, it is a board wipe. It's a potential board wipe in our colours, so I think it's just too good to pass up, and a 4/4 of Menace is already very good. Okay, got a couple of options here. Taskmaster's very good. Malkin's pretty good. Manticore's pretty decent. Vraska's pretty decent, and so Spark Harvest. I think since removal's quite light in the set, I think picking up a Spark Harvest is just a good idea. Okay, here we've got Samet Sprint, pretty good way to push damage, does Scry. Lazotep Reaver, 2 excellent sack targets, so works very well with the deck. Toll of the Invasion is also pretty decent, but I think Lazotep Reaver just edges out as a decent 2-drop. Okay, again, Sorin Circe is a bit underwhelming. Invading Manticore is a nice curve topper, does a mass, gives you a big body. Price of Betrayal, I think in draft, Price of Betrayal is actually going to be useful almost every time. If you're against a mass deck, or any deck that has Planeswalkers, I think Price of Betrayal is going to give you some value. So I think we're going to pick up Price of Betrayal. Here we've got Honor of the God Pharaoh, which is a little bit expensive for what it does, but it's not too bad. It does also give us a sack target. Samet Sprint, again, it's quite nice to push damage. And Vraska's Finisher, which is actually a very good card. I'm not sure which one I prefer. I think we're going to be a little light on card draw, aside from Ob Nixilis. But I think Vraska's Finisher just allows you to finish off pesky blockers a lot better. We're definitely going to pick up Heartfire here. It's a very good piece of removal and reach for the red-black sacrifice, especially with the amount of cards we've pulled so far. I think in this case we will pick up Sorens first, because it's a lot better than Goblin Assailant. It's not very exciting, but it's still better than nothing. Here, Iron Bully is a lot better than the Laztep Behemoth for purposes of having both sacrifice target and also putting counters on things. But the Behemoth is just a better card. What's off? We don't have a huge amount of late game creatures. We are focusing mostly on the early game, but I suppose a 5/4 is not the worst thing to pick up. It's not exciting, but there you go. The only card we really care about here is Saheeli Silverwing. It is a flyer, which does make it a little bit better in a set where there's not very many flyers. So we will pick it up. It's not exciting, but probably get cut. Dread Malkin though, very good. That's another creature that allows us to sacrifice our creatures. Here I'm just gonna pick up Teferi's Time Twist for the sideboard. A Strix, I guess, and Return to Nature. Okay. Ooh, now this is what I was saying about the Guild Globe. Yep, we're taking God Eternal Oketra and we are playing her. Oh man. Oh man. I'm not even going to look at the rest of the pack, it doesn't matter. If I can resolve God Eternal Oketra, I basically win the game. However, if they destroy her and I cast her off the Guild Globe, we're going to be looking a little light for things to do. Though this does mean I can pick up a few white cards if it makes sense. I think here we want to pick up the Heartfire. Again, it's another great sacrifice tool. Gives a lot of value. Here, I think we would like Tybalt's Rager. Tybalt's Rager is a great target to swing with, and you can just pump it up or sack it. It gives your opponent some awkward choices for blocks. I don't think Chandra's Pyrohelix is going to be the most valuable card for our deck. It's only 2 damage. Might be nice, but I think either Toll of the Invasion or Liliana's Triumph. I think Toll of the Invasion is pretty good. It gives us a mass token, and we get to rip one of our opponent's power cards out of their hand. Liliana's Triumph is not bad. It's better if you can play it when you've got your opponent on the back foot, where they don't have very many blockers because you've been killing them off, so they have to sacrifice a valuable target. It doesn't hit Planeswalkers. If it hit Planeswalkers, it would be very, very good, but it would probably be a bit too strong then. I think we're just going to take Toll of the Invasion. I think we have a decent amount of removal already. Okay, so a lot of artifacts in this pack. Shriek Diver's not the worst, I guess. It's not exciting. Ugin's Conjurant's probably a lot better though, because whenever you draw Ugin's Conjurant, if you're top decking, it just becomes your biggest creature. Yes, if it deals damage, it loses counters instead. However, if it, say for example, say it's a 4/4, and your opponent goes, well, if they block out my 3/2 with Ugin's Conjurant, it's going to go down to a 1/1, so it's not very useful anymore. Now, it's useful for us because we can just happily sacrifice it then. So I think Ugin's Conjurant's actually fine, and you can play it on turn 1, it's not the worst thing in the world. So I think Ugin's Conjurant is a fine card to have for the deck. Here, Bond of Revival might be relevant, especially if we lose Oketra and we cast her off the Guild Globe. Bond of Revival gives us another way of bringing Oketra back if we don't tuck her 3 cards under. So I think Bond of Revival is worth it. We can also bring back Massacre Girl or something like that for some value. This pack, I think we like picking another Arncrop Invader. There are 2/2 with First Strike that allows you to get good trades. So that seems fine to me. Aid the Fallen, I think, is probably pretty good for the deck. We're going to be sacrificing a lot of creatures. It's going to give us some card advantage when we lose Tybalt or Ob Nixilis. So I think Aid the Fallen as a one-of copy, I'm happy to take. So yeah, we'll grab that. Here we'll take another Grim Initiate, perfect 1-drop. That's exactly what we want to see. These cards are totally unexciting, so I guess Sarkhan's Catharsis is a 5 mana, 5 damage goes face. I don't think we want another Sarkhan's Catharsis. This is best of 3 though, so I guess in a very slow matchup we might want the Sarkhans to just deal face damage. Especially if our opponent's playing a deck which effectively pillow forts us down. Could be relevant. I don't think I care about another Blind Blast, so I will grab another Sarkhan's Catharsis. Nothing exciting here, we'll just take the uncommon. And Godfarer's Statue will take it for How likely am I to play Saheeli Silverwing? I think we've got plenty of playables without Saheeli Silverwing. We can always side... it might be worth grabbing just so we can sideboard it in against decks with lots of flyers. So I think it's worth picking up the Saheeli Silverwing just for the sideboard against flyers. So let's think about the deck. Let's take everything out of it first. I like to go from scratch. It gives me a... see what my full pool is. Okay, so Mayhem Devil is going to be very good in the deck. We've sort of built around Mayhem Devil, but then again, Red-Black Sacrifice gets a lot of work done anyway. We are going to want the Guild Globe because we are going to be playing Oketra, and Ugin's Conjuring is a fine drop at any point in the game. I'm going to pop in God Eternal Oketra because if we can resolve her and play some creatures, we win the game. We're very creature heavy already. So that's good. We want the Krenko, we want the Tibalt. I think we want both Grim Initiates, which means we probably want at least 2 of the Arncrop Invaders. And we want, I think both the Heartfires seems reasonable as well. Lazotep Reaver, excellent sacrifice creature. Vizier of the Scorpion is also very good. It's 2 bodies, that's always the way you've got to look at it. Spark Harvest, solid removal. Price of Betrayal, solid removal. More for Planeswalkers, but can hit Amass tokens as well. And hitting a 5/5 Amass token can literally be backbreaking for your opponent. Ob Nixilis is pretty good in our deck. Allows us to destroy our creatures and draw cards, so it can give us some card advantage. Or it can kill pesky, hard to destroy blockers that we can then push through for damage. Masker Girl, good stuff. Could, in theory, wipe our own board, but if it wipes their board as well, is it worth it? We're left with a 4/4. Depends what the sort of board state and our hand state is looking like, but I think it's fine. We have absolutely no 4-drops, which might be a problem. I'm just thinking what else would be good. I think Aid the Fallen's worth playing. We're going to be sacrificing a lot of creatures, so that's fair enough. Currently we have a lot of 1-drops. Now Ugin's Conjuring I kind of just leave on its own because it's not really a 1-drop, it's just wherever you want to play it. Do we want the Dread Malkin? I think the Dread Malkin's worth it because it retains the power. Arncrop Invader doesn't retain the power, but Arncrop Invader is a real bastard to block because your opponent can sacrifice, for example, a Grim Initiate, and then it turns into a 4/2 with First Strike, so it does become a bit of a problem for our opponent. So I think Dread Malkin still deserves a slot though. Tibalt's Rager again, it's a real pain to block if you hold up mana and spend it in your second main. So I think Tibalt's Rage is worth playing as well. It's also something we don't mind sacrificing if we want to just ping something for 1, so that's fair enough. 2 more cards for the deck. Are we a 16-land deck? That's the question. We could be. We could genuinely be a 16-land deck. Most of our cards are 1, 2, and 3 drops, so I think maybe 16 lands is the correct thing to do. In which case, what do we want to be focusing our last few cards on? I think Vraska's Finisher is perfect. We're going to be able to perhaps ping with Tibalt's Devil tokens, or Tibalt's Rager, or with Mayhem Devil. These are all things that ping things for 1, which can allow Vraska's Finisher to finish them off. And we can put 1 more card in the deck. I think Toll of the Invasion is probably worth it. And if we cut a card, for example, if we cut one of our planes, because we ideally won't only want 2 in the deck, because we don't want to mess up our mana too much, I think our next best include it's either the Arncrop Invader or the Bond of Revival. Bond of Revival does allow us to pull Oketra back if we can't play her for mana reasons, and I think that's a good enough reason to run Bond of Revival. Alternatively, it gets back Massacre Girl, it can get back Mayhem Devil, it could get back Krenko, which Krenko doesn't seem very relevant, but if you bring him back, you get to swing with him, which creates 2 tokens, which then gives us options to sacrifice them to other cards. So I think that is also relevant to take that. And I think this is going to be our deck. I think we are playing Rakdos Sacrifice, or Sacrifice, I don't know. We're going to have to name it after the best card in the deck, right? You always got to name your decks after the best card in the deck. So this is going to be Oketra Sacrifice, because we have an Oketra. The problem, Oketra came so late, so pack 3. If Oketra was pack 1, I would have hard drafted white. Would have picked up that Heartwarming Redemption. We could have played a very, very solid white-red aggro deck if I knew that Oketra was going to be in the 3rd pack. But there's hindsight for you. But I still think we have a very serviceable deck. As far as sideboarding goes, against decks with lots of big blockers, we could put in a Blind Blast and maybe take out one of our smaller pieces of removal. If we were up against a deck with a lot of big blockers, we could run Sarkhan's Catharsis as a way to push those final pieces of damage. Saheeli Silverwing for decks that don't really have any reach or or lack of flyers, or for decks that have lots of flyers, that can also be relevant. Again, against maybe a low to the ground aggro deck, we might want another Arncrop Invader, because they do have first strike, so they can push through other aggro decks pretty easily. They trade very well. Sorin's Thirst, Banehound, these are things we can tech in against aggro. Lazotep Behemoths is sort of, I mean, if we need a big boy, there'll be games where we decide we want the Behemoth, but not very regularly. Anyway, that's our deck, and yeah, hopefully it goes pretty well. I think we got quite a good set. It's hard to tell though, because I haven't played enough of the draft. I'm kind of in 2 minds about it. Do you just hard pick all the best removal, because removal is quite light in the set? Do you hard pick like all the flyers, because there isn't much, there's only 2 cards with reach, removal's not very prolific? Are flyers the way to go? These are all things like I don't know the answer to yet, so I'll have to play around with it more. And I think once the best of 1 draft comes out, because I have, you know, almost 50,000 gold, I can play at least 10 of those drafts, which will then earn me enough gems to probably play however many more traditional drafts. Ideally, we can get quite good at the traditional draft and then continuously play it over and over and over again, which would be fantastic, because I really want to have the opportunity to play lots of drafts for the channel and for stream. But I'm not going to play any games right now. I'm going to save that for either when I stream later today, actually, or I will just record them off screen, just so I can spend, you know, as long as I need. Not that I don't on stream anyway, but we'll see. Regardless, that will be the end of this video. I hope you're looking forward to seeing Oketra Sacrifice in play. I certainly am. I haven't had a chance to play around with Red-Black Sacrifice very much. Not even when Rakdos, you know, Rakdos being in Allegiances, I really didn't play Rakdos colours very much. Rakdos didn't have very much sacrifice synergies, whereas, yeah, the red-black in Spark is very sacrifice heavy, which is a very interesting build around. You're basically saying by destroying one of my own cards, am I going to get more value? Which in many cases you do, which is the point. But you've got to pick the right outlets to do it, and I think we've got the right outlets to pull this off. Right, as always guys, it's been me, Chaff Commander Coffee. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for our draft games. Here we go, we've got 5 sets to win. Can we do it? Place your bets. I'll see you later.